any unpaid work experience which goes on longer than 4 weeks has passed from the Lords to the Commons. So whether an employer calls it a placement, an internship or work experience, if it lasts longer than a month, it could become illegal. Unpaid internships are already against the law, but students are exempt from this. Will a new law make any difference? Jem Collins is from Journal Resources, trying to make the media more diverse. Hello, Jem.
Hiya.
Hi, and the journalist Charlie Peters opposes the proposed changes. Why, Charlie? Good evening.
Hello there. I'm opposed to banning of unpaid internships after 4 weeks because I think they're a useful opportunity for young people who can afford to set aside the time and money to go and pursue any opportunities that are offered to them. I'm not an economist, but it seems demonstrably clear to me that by dramatically raising the price floor of internships, it's only going to constrain the supply from businesses who cannot justify, meeting a new imposed level.
But Charlie, you say raising the price. You're raising it from zero.
Indeed, but I mean, but that's regardless. That's still a price raise. You're absolutely correct. I mean, I agree with you.
Why should anybody work for nothing?
Oh, if someone chooses to work for nothing, it can be an incredible return on investment for them in the future. For example, I have many friends who've come from other countries, from working class backgrounds, immigrated to the UK, have set aside some savings to work in unpaid internships for maybe 6 or 8 weeks in London. And as a consequence of that, they now have much better lives. Now working in those little companies.
For those people who can afford to, Charlie. For those people who can afford to work for nothing.
I'm talking about working class people.
How do working class people afford to work for nothing?
Because if it's £1,000 a month it costs to set aside the money to do this kind of work, if you're a student, for example, you get about 10 months free between your first and third year of university. And if in those 10 months you can work quite hard in a minimum wage job to set aside the cash to save up for this kind of work, then you can. I have friends who, for example, have done these unpaid internships and worked on the weekends, worked in evenings in cold calls and fast food to make up the opportunity. The government should not ban these chances, but reduce the cost of living to make it easier for people to get into them.
Jem?
I think we're talking a lot here about kind of reducing opportunities, but I think what we're talking about is kind of reducing opportunities for a certain type of people. I think it's all very well saying, working class people can take up these opportunities, but the facts just don't stack up on that. I saw some statistics recently from, I think it was the government's 26th State of the Nation report, and 11% of journalists are working class compared to two-thirds of our population are working class. So the facts are there that these people just aren't getting into journalism, and that's just kind of one industry. And I think, it's all very well saying, why don't you save up? But, £1,000, that's a lot of money. I mean, at Journal Resources, we get people messaging us every day saying, I can't afford to do this. And, we get people who are saying, I'm working night shifts and working till 4 in the morning and then going to do my internship in the morning. And how is that an level playing field, even if they are kind of saving up? And what's the real benefit of, doing 5 weeks over 4? I just don't think there's that kind of investment trade-off, and it is just benefiting a certain type of people.
Well, I'm not too sure about that, and I'm sure that the cost is very high, but there's no need for it to be. If we reduced rent prices, built new houses, reduced the cost of travel, all of these issues could be tackled in a much more succinctly way.
I think that's a very, very idealistic viewpoint. I think you're talking about something very, very big. You're talking about kind of like how are you going to push down rent prices with private landlords?
Build
how are you
going
to bring down the cost of... let's be realistic here. That isn't going to happen tomorrow. That isn't going to happen in 5 years.
It could if you simply reduced building regulations and freed up the green belt for people to build houses.
We're talking about something here which at the end of the day is going to take years and years to kick in, even if we did subscribe to that point of view. And at the moment, I know from personal experience, I come from a rural background, a working class background, and there is no way I would have ever been able to afford to spend £1,000 a month on an internship. And the people that I speak to every single week trying to break into journalism, they also have those same experiences. So I'm afraid that what you're saying doesn't seem to match up with the reality of what's happening right now. And there isn't a level playing field. And it's not about kind of reducing opportunities. There's still plenty of opportunities out there. I mean, we talk about internships and we talk about work experience, and the terms kind of get bandied around a lot as the same thing. But that's not to say you can't go into a newsroom for 3 weeks to get some experience. That's not to say you can't do a paid internship. And there are lots of leading job sites now which will only advertise paid internships. And they've got pages and pages of these things. So it's not a barrier to the industry, and there are other ways to do this.
OK. Listen, thank you very much indeed. 08085 909